Steve was an orphan who had never met his family. One day, after coincidentally finding his birth certificate at a police station, he would not only find out about his lost family, but gain a completely new one. 7-year-old Steve sat in his small bedroom in the shelter for orphans, inspecting the package in front of him with excitement. The gift had been sent anonymously. It had been almost a year since he had received a gift like this. He would receive packages regularly from this mysterious person, normally bearing sweats, toys, or clothes for Steve. However, one day, Steve's anonymous helper suddenly stopped sending them through. Just as he was unwrapping the gift, one of the caretakers at the shelter popped into his room and told him to join the others at the bus. Steve and the other orphans were going on an excursion to the police station. Steve decided he would open his gift upon his return. As always, the trip was an absolute blast for all the children. They played with the police officers, wearing their hats and badges, as well as learning about the responsibilities that came with the police service. The police staff let them enter the police cars and sit on their motorcycles. This was by far Steve's favorite part about these visits. As Steve pretended to be riding one of the display motorcycles, he heard something jolting in the saddlebag above the rear wheel. "Yes, sir. I found this in your old bike. It's my birth certificate. You see, I've never known my parents. This is the first real connection to them that I've come across. Do you think you could help me find them, sir?" Curious, Steve looked open the trunk to investigate. When he looked inside, he found a small box. When he opened the box, there was an envelope inside. At this point, his curiosity was getting the better of him, so he opened the envelope. "Sir, whose motorbike is that?" Steve asked the officer. "That belonged to a brave officer named Jack, or Mr. Potter, like we used to call him, Little Man. He has been out of the force for about a year," the police officer responded. Steve couldn't let this opportunity slip him by. This is the closest he had come to finding out who his parents were. This Mr. Potter surely knew something that could help him track his parents. "Oh, all right. Do you know how I could get in contact with him? I'd like to give him a present for his service," Steve said. Yes, but actually, sure. Why not?" the police officer said, clearly hiding something. The police officer called Jack that very moment. "Hi, Jack. Yeah, there's a boy here who wants to see you. Who knows, maybe it will help you," the police officer said. Steve was taken aback by the phrase, "it will help you." Moments later, Jack arrived at the police station. Steve approached him with the birth certificate. "Hi, Mr. Potter. I'm Steve," Steve said with a kind smile. "Hi, Steve. You must be the young man that wanted to see me," Jack responded. "Steve, how would you feel if I adopted you?" "I think we were brought together for a reason. Yes, sir. I found this in your old bike. It's my birth certificate. You see, I've never known my parents. This is the first real connection to them that I've come across. Do you think you could help me find them, sir?" Steve said. "Wow, what are the chances?" Jack said, inspecting the birth certificate. Then he continued, "Look, kid, I wish I could help you, but I'm afraid I may not be as helpful as you think. About a year ago, I was involved in a car accident while on the job, and I've been suffering from amnesia ever since. The police academy restored my bike after the accident, and now it's used for charity excursions such as these. I'm sorry, Steve, but I don't remember where or how I could have possibly got my hands on your birth certificate," Jack sadly explained. Jack could plainly see the disappointment on the little boy's face. He knew what it was like to lose family and yearned to be reunited with them. He lost his family 8 years ago after being hit by a drunk driver. That was why he decided to join the police force, to instill some sort of justice and protection for others. I'll tell you what, I could ask my old police partner to do a little digging about your parents and see what we can uncover with the information we have. How does that sound?" Jack suggested. "I'd appreciate that very much, sir," Steve said with a smile. Jack asked his friend and former partner, Peter, to look up Steve's parents. Peter found out that Steve's father was in prison for drunk driving and causing an accident. His mother had disappeared 6 years ago after the birth of Steve, and also had some run-ins with the police. As Jack looked at the image of Steve's father, He couldn't help but feel like he had seen this man before. The weird thing about all this is you were the police officer handling the child's father's case, Peter explained. Jack could not believe what he was hearing. The thought of him being the reason this little boy had no family left him with a deep feeling of guilt and regret. So after explaining everything to Steve, Jack proposed something Steve could have never seen coming. "Listen, Steve, I'm sorry I got your father arrested, and I hope you understand why I had to do it," Jack said. "I do. It still hurts, though, being alone. Not having a family," Steve said sadly. "I know. Maybe I can help with that," Jack suggested. "How?" Steve asked Steve. "How would you feel if I adopted you?" "I think we were brought together for a reason," Jack said. "Wow, that would be amazing," Steve proclaimed with excitement, lunging onto Jack with a warm hug. Several weeks passed, and Steve's adoption was finally approved. He moved in with Jack. He had also uncovered something interesting over those weeks. Still, because of the intensity of the adoption process, Steve couldn't find the appropriate time to show Jack what he had discovered. "A few days later, I came to your house to check on you, but there wasn't anyone there. Just as I was about to leave, I heard a baby's cries from inside the house." Steve had finally opened up the package he had received all those weeks back. Inside was a pendant with a picture of Jack's wife and daughter. Now that he knew Jack was behind all the gifts, it was all beginning to make sense. "I got this round about the time we first met. It was among the toys and clothes you sent me. Do you remember sending it?" Steve asked, handing him the pendant. "Oh, wow! Thank you, Steve. I've been looking all over for this."